Well, it's noon here in Lagos, Nigeria. Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. I'm Kayode Kikulu. Well, let's bring you the big political stories at this moment. Well, the FCC's arraignment of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello continues without Mr. Bello in court for a second time, spurring the judge to order the EFCC to serve his lawyer with the charges against him. Well, fresh foreign interactions for President Bola Tinubu as he heads to Netherlands for an official visit and business investment meetings, and then to Saudi Arabia for a special World Economic Forum meeting. In 2023, Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi proposes the integration of Almajiri children into formal basic education as a means to ending insecurity. Well, let's get to it. We're back in court this afternoon for EFCC's arraignment of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, on a 19-count charge of alleged money laundering to the tune of 84 billion naira. Now, for the second time, Mr. Bello is not in court. However, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to serve a copy of the charge against him on his lawyer, Abdulwahab Mohammed. The judge relied on Section 384, 4 and 5 of the Administrative and Criminal Justice Act 2015, directing the counsel to the immediate past governor to receive a copy of the charge. The court held that where it has become impossible to effect personal service of a legal process on a defendant, such could be done through substituted means. Justice Nwite further held that it was clear that the former governor failed to appear in court for his arraignment. Well, this is the latest in a string of events following the EFCC's attempt to arrest former Governor Yahaya Bello at his residence in the nation's capital, Abuja. But let's get some insight into what is now playing out in court, some explanation as to this latest development. We're joined by legal practitioner, Mr. Inibe Effiong. He joins us virtually from Uyo this afternoon. Mr. Effiong, thank you for joining us on Lunchtime Politics.
Thank you for having me.
I just want you to give us an explainer, really, because there's quite a number of things happening in the court, and not everyone is a lawyer. So help us understand, what did we just see play out at the court today, particularly with the order by Justice Nwite that Mr. Bello's lawyer be served? And of course, he cited a section of the Constitution. Tell us, what does that mean for this case?
The implication is that since Mr. has not for arraignment and also because he is not in custody, it is required under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, including the section you have quoted. If you look at the community reading of section 382, 384, 85, and other relevant provisions of the ACJ, where a defendant is not in custody, the law mandates that a copy of the charge and notice of arraignment shall be served on that defendant personally, in person, not by proxy. However, where it is impossible to effect personal service on a defendant, the law allows the prosecution, in this case the EFCC, to go before the court through an ex parte application, seeking the leave, that is the permission of the court, to have that charge served on the defendant by substituted means. And one of the modes of substituted service that is cognizable under the ACJ is by serving on the legal practitioner of the defendant. In this case, the lawyers representing Mr. Yahaya Bello. So on the basis of this order, Yahaya Bello will now be served with a copy of the charge through his counsel, and he will, upon the effecting of that service, have a responsibility to appear before the Federal High Court for his plea and for his arraignment. I would have thought that he could have just simply, since he's saying he has not been served with the charge, he could have just simply obtained a copy of the charge, through an application. We have seen this in practice, I have had cause to do that myself for a client who had not been served, and I simply approached the court on my own and applied for the certified true copy. But that is without prejudice to the right of the defendant to insist on having the charge served on him or her in line with the law. So Yahaya Bello must now go to court and then answer the charges that have been preferred against him. He does not enjoy constitutional immunity. His tenure of office having elapsed, his oath of office having elapsed, the immunity that governors enjoy by virtue of Section 308 of the Constitution no longer inures to his benefit. So he's now subject to the trial, he's now subject to authority of the court like every other defendant.
But speak to us now about the possibilities moving forward, because this is the second time that this arraignment is happening with him not in court. Is it possible that a case can continue in perpetuity with the defendant in absentia?
Of course, under the SCJ, there are circumstances under which a defendant may be tried in absentia. But I don't think that we need to get to that point. Here is the man who was the governor of Kogi State for 8 years, a man who held the rings of power for 8 years, a former chief executive officer of the state. I would have thought that if truly he's not being haunted by the ghost of stewardship, that it should not be difficult, it should not be complicated for him to just simply walk into the courtroom and then plead to the charges that have been brought against him. I don't think that we need to get to a point that the former governor of Nigeria will now have to be tried in absentia. He is being asked to render account of his governance of the state regarding how he managed the finances of the state. And if he's innocent, of course he's presumed innocent. But if his conscience is clear, he should simply walk to the court and then take his plea. He has a retinue of senior lawyers, very eminent lawyers to represent him. So I don't see any fear. I don't see the cause for the apprehension. I don't see the cause for the dramatization. Let him surrender to the court and then take his plea. But let me also say clearly that no court of law in Nigeria can shield Yahaya Bello from prosecution. The argument of whether a court can make an order barring an anti-corruption agency or indeed any law enforcement agency from investigating or prosecuting a person has long been settled by the Supreme Court. In the case of Nyame for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the case of Kalu for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and several other cases, the Supreme Court has made it abundantly clear that a court cannot make an order that will have the implication of shielding a defendant from trial. So let him go to court, let him answer to the charges that have been brought against him. It is as simple as that.
All right, Mr. Effiong, quite interesting times we're experiencing, really, and of course we'll see how this plays out. But that's not the only issue that is on the front burner today for us as a nation. Security is also a big one, and you know, the Minister of Police Affairs yesterday and the Inspector General of Police are literally not on the same page when it comes to a major issue, and that is on the creation of state police in the country. And while the Minister of Police Affairs believes that state police will enhance community policing, Inspector General, on the other hand, is of the opinion that Nigeria is not mature enough for state police. So I'd like us to just set the background of what exactly played out at that event. It was an event organized by the House of Representatives and the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center in Abuja. And then we'll come back to stretch that conversation, particularly as it pertains to security in the nation.
Well, this is one of the very few occasions that I have cause to align myself with the Inspector General of Police. I have always disagreed with him and the police leadership regarding the way that they are policing the country, regarding the way they have their utter disregard for human rights. But on the question of state police, the IGP is perfectly on the point. Let us not deceive ourselves. Nigeria is not ripe. Nigeria is not ready. Nigerian politicians, Nigerian governors are not ready for state police. If you look at the Constitution itself, the structure of the police, section 214, 215, no president in Nigeria has the power to appoint an Inspector General of Police without consultation with the Nigeria Police Council. Who are the members of the council? The 36 state governors, the president, and the IG. So ordinarily, and the leadership of the police is also given the power to police the country, to to basically police have no role whatsoever under the system. Under the Constitution, if the control of the police under Section 250, governors have power to give directions to the Commissioner for Police in their state.
Pardon me, allow me to come in here, Mr. Effiong. I was asking you to hold your horses for a moment, but it looks like the horses have since bolted from the stable. But we seem to be having a connection issue. But I'd like us to just hear what these different parties had to say about state police. Then, of course, we'll continue. So, Mr. Effiong, just take a listen to what was raised at that event, what was said, and of course, we'll continue the conversation.
New approach to tackling insecurity.
Former Head of State General Abdulsalami Abubakar, former President Goodluck Jonathan, federal lawmakers, security agencies, members of the diplomatic corps, traditional and religious leaders attend a one-day policy dialogue on state policing system. The event, which is organized by the House of Representatives and the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, comes as the National Assembly prepares for another round of constitution amendments.
There are lots of people who are very, very anxious that the police be reformed, that the police be given more powers, be given more responsibility. Perhaps that the way to go might actually be to decentralize the police in a way that ensures that the decentralization of the police safeguards it from abuse.
The prospect of a state-level policy architecture, which is at the heart of this dialogue, is paramount, given the imperatives of addressing the scourge of crime, insurgency, and various forms of violence that are impacting on Nigeria's development trajectory, thereby presenting a threat to the well-being and safety of all citizens.
In the previous assembly, the state police bill was rejected by federal lawmakers who feared that state governors may abuse the system. It appears the federal legislature is shifting grounds, just as former heads of states throw their weight behind the creation of state police to address the security concerns across the country.
As we explore the models of state policing that have been successful in other nations, we must be judicious in adopting these frameworks to fit our unique Nigerian situation.
We are not going to debate, and we should not waste our time debating whether we should have state police or not. Listening to the speaker, he gave the history. Even in this country, we operated it before. Why is that the military scrapped it? Because of the abuse. And that is the area we should concentrate on.
As much as we are talking of establishing state police, we should also look into the role vis-a-vis of our royal fathers.
So there you have it. And then the Minister for Police Affairs and the representative of the IGP then spoke about that. But I wanted us to get a sense of what former leaders had to say about this, Mr. Effiong, because they have been commanders-in-chief. So they have that, that view, that bird's eye view. And one of them said that, yes, abuse has been a reason, but then that is what we need to tackle. Isn't that why we have laws to ensure that abuse is curbed? Do we just say, oh, because it's been abused, then we don't explore it? Shouldn't we then look at tightening the laws to ensure that the laws cater to that tendency to abuse?
Well, for me, there are two issues here. If we say we need state police, the question will be what model of state policing is Nigeria supposed to have? Let us say for a second, should we have a state police that is going under the controls? I completely disagree with that. If you establish state police today and you give governors control over that state police, I can tell you with certainty, I can tell you without any equivocation that they will not only abuse it, they will bastardize it. And I have had cause in the past to describe Nigerian governors generally as constitutional vandals. They engage in wanton constitutional vandalism. And the examples are replete. Look at state institutions that already exist under the current constitutional framework. Start with the state electoral commission. state in Nigeria today that has allowed it to function, that local government elections are credible. Go to even constitutional government assembly. How many governors today have allowed houses of assembly to function independently? How about even the state courts? How about the local government? Local government system in Nigeria today have been completely bastardized. So you have a group of states, presiding officers of state that are not accountable to the House of Assembly, that have no judiciary, that does not respect the tier of government, the local government system, and you said you want to give them state police. What will the role of this state police be during elections? What will the role of the police be when governors want to go after their opponents? We are having this Kogi state drive into the residence of Yahaya Bello to rescue him from being arrested. Can you imagine a state police under the control of Governor Dodo? Can you imagine a state police under former Governor Yahaya Bello, under former Governor El-Rufai, under former Governor Wike and several other governors? Can you imagine state police under the current governors in Nigeria? The truth of the matter is that any attempt to establish state police and give governors control over that state police is simply a recipe for anarchy. If we are going to have a state police, it has to be completely insulated from the control of governors. Those who will run it must be independently elected. They must be elected. If you are going to have I don't know what designation they will have, but if you are going to have a state police board or state police commission, the members must be elected by the people of the state. On no account, if you give governors control over state police, what you would have done would have simply been militia. That is what governors will turn state police to withhold their opponents, to rig elections, to bastardize democracy. So I don't think that this fear should be dismissed.
I think
the federal police today, governors are abusing it.
Right.
How much more state police?
Well, some of them will consider this unfair. I mean, you preempting them. I mean, this is something that has not even happened. But they might say you're just being unfair and preempting what they might do with this state police. But it's understandable, as you've said, because we've seen some scenarios in the past, and that is how you're projecting into the future. But I don't want us to also lose sight of the challenge we have on our hands. So we've seen some sort of ineffectiveness of the current system as it is to cater to those security challenges that we've had. So it seems we all agree that there is a challenge, but the solution is what we disagree on. But while we disagree, it looks like we're losing time. So time is really of the essence. We've talked about abuse of the current system. Even without state police, there's been abuse. And you've had cause to even call out, security operatives and the rest. So if there'll be a single or simple solution for you, what will it be?
I think if the federal government is honest about this, they should begin by reforming the federal police, right? If you reform the federal police and it is efficient, we can now have a model, right, for creating state police. Because what is the argument, Kayode? What is the argument? Yes, the security argument is understood. But don't forget, we are dealing with governors that have not been able to pay 30,000 naira minimum wage. We are dealing with governors that are currently taking billions as security votes that nobody in their states can hold them accountable for. I am not aware of a single state governor today that can tell the public how much and how they are using money that they take as security votes. So if you say that, let us establish state police, the security is going to end, we have a federal police today. We even have the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Air Force, immigration, civil defense, and what have you. Why have they not been able to tackle the insecurity? It is simply a question of leadership. It is lack of political will. So I don't agree that there is no simple solution to this. And state police is not going to prefer an automatic end to insecurity in the country. These governors today are currently controlling state security councils in their states. In every state today, you have state security council headed by the governor with the heads of all the security agencies in attendance. They actually have some control over the federal police. Why has they not stopped insecurity? Will they buy more vehicles? Or will it be a question of purchase of arms, which they will still have to go back to the federal government for licensing? So how do you demarcate it? But I am telling you that if we make the mistake of creating state police and living in the control of governors, we are setting this country on a very dangerous direction. Let us be careful, because we have a federal police. Look at the human rights violation, Kayode. Under the NSAS, when we had the NSAS panels, most of the governors constituted commissions of inquiry, particularly in the South. How many of them even implemented the aspects that they had powers over? How many governors today have regards for human rights? How many governors today are even genuinely interested in security? We have seen governors in some states in the North being implicated over their relationship with bandits. We had a former governor who even confessed that he had to pay bandits to stop killing people. So let us not pretend that we are going to hand over state police to a group of 36 angels who have the magical solution to any security in the country. If we are going to create state police, there must be very stringent constitutional provisions to insulate it from the control of governors to ensure that human rights are protected. But what is the model? We don't have a model for state police.
Right.
You are not going to model state police after America when our federal police is nothing to write home about.
So whether it's states or federal police, the structure has to be gotten right. Human rights issues also have to be entrenched in that police. But it seems like you're inadvertently saying that you trust the federal government more than the state government when it comes to the handling of policing in the country. But Mr. Effiong, quite interesting conversation we've had. You've provided lots of insights, particularly from your experience. I'd like to thank you so much. I think this will be vital to the national debate on state police so that we don't just get the hopes of the people up only to dash them later on. Mr. Enibe Effiong, legal practitioner, joining us live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Right. Well, President Bola Tinubu is expected to depart Abuja for the Kingdom of the Netherlands on an official visit. The president will also attend the World Economic Forum meeting scheduled for April the 28th to 29th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, according to presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngalale, the visit is on the invitation of the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte, and it will see President Tinubu engage in discussions with the Prime Minister and other leaders. He adds that after his engagement in the Netherlands, the President will proceed to attend a special World Economic Forum meeting scheduled for April 20th to 29th in Saudi Arabia. And the meeting is expected to deliberate on global collaboration, growth, and energy for development. Now, speaking of development, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Mr. Peter Obi, is advocating the proper integration of Almajiri children into formal basic education, noting that the country cannot overcome its security and developmental challenges when a large number of its young population are not educated. Mr. Obi made the assertion when he visited an Almajiri school in Kaduna North local government area of the state, during which he donated 10 million naira to the Islamic school as well as 2 hospitals in the state. The former Anambra State governor, however, asks political leaders to take a tour of the entire country in order to ascertain the quantum of problems facing the ordinary citizens rather than sitting in the comfort of their offices.
We've seen that we have a big challenge in terms of insecurity, which is fueled by, again, issue of poverty, low human development. And when you study all this, you could see that there's need to invest more in area of education of the people. And I've come to visit a typical Almajiri school, because I believe that while we might not have schools everywhere, we can take education everywhere. Let me say that the current governments in various states like Kaduna State, the governors and those involved are doing their best. But their efforts and all the effort of the federal government need to be doubled by investing in these young ones. Because the more we invest in them and they have education and skills, the more we fight the future problems. Again, to invest in area of pulling people out of poverty. I've said it repeatedly. The more you pull people out of poverty, the more you reduce criminality.
Now, that's a view of a presidential candidate of Labour Party regarding insecurity. But let's look at what President Bola Tinubu has to say about this, particularly on a continental scale. And he's calling for the establishment of a regional counter-terrorism center that will serve as a hub for intelligence sharing, operational coordination, and capacity building. President Tinubu canvassed this at the African high-level meeting on counter-terrorism in the nation's capital, where he declared that Africa must take a comprehensive approach to combating terrorism.
The advisor, high-level summit has in attendance Presidents Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana and Foreigner Singbe of Togo, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa.
So that's essentially an insight into what's happening there. But just before we go, let's give you an update coming from the court where the EFCC is arraigning in absentia former Kogi State Governor, Mr. Yaya Bello. Well, a member of Mr. Yaya Bello's legal team, Mr. Adedipe, has told the Federal High Court Abuja that his client would have made himself available but was afraid that he will be arrested. He adds that Mr. Bello is ready to appear before the court to answer to the 19-count charge preferred against him by the EFCC. Mr. Adedipe is asking the court to set aside the ex parte order of arrest which it had earlier issued against the former governor, adding that as at the time the order of arrest was made, the charge had not been served on his clients. In fact, Mr. Bello adds that the EFCC was an illegal organization coming off this. And according to him, the federal government did not consult the 36 states of the Federation before enacting the EFCC Act through the National Assembly. So there you go. Latest updates from the court where Mr. Yaya Bello, according to his lawyer, says he would have made himself available for the proceedings, but he's afraid that he will be arrested. Stay with Channels Television as we continue to follow the updates from the court and from different angles, just to ensure that you get the news as they happen. I'm Kayode Kikulu. Thank you for watching Lunchtime Politics.